Hello from Coronaville! Today we have the GKTECH 4130 high tensile steel offset steering rack extenders. Here's the box being rotated about. And hey, we wrote you a love note. JK, it's important info on which side goes where, so don't toss it out. It doesn't matter if your car is left-hand drive or right-hand drive. When you are sitting in the car, the longer left side gets installed on the left, and the shorter right side gets installed on the right. Science. Now in this case, we're installing it on a right-hand drive vehicle. Start by clipping the zip ties for the boot and shoving it to the side. Now grab your wrenches and loosen and remove the inner tie rod by holding the steering rack at the shaft and threading that sucker on out. Now that that's off, we're going to set a good example and clean these perfectly clean threads off anyway. Yours may be super dirty, so spray them with some brake clean and wipe them on down. Now do the same to the steering rack threads. Now on to the important part. Apply thread locker onto the bolt, then rub that good stuff on in lovingly, as shown here. Now install the shorter spacer and bolt since we're doing this on the right-hand side of the car. Tighten it down, then support the rack and torque it to the specs shown on the screen. Now pop that freshly cleaned inner tie rod end into the spacer and thread it down. Now you want to check for clearance, as there could be some overhang depending on what inner tie rod you happen to be using. Now you don't want that to hit on your rack, otherwise you may damage it and end up like this guy, and ain't nobody got time for that. Instead, measure the overhang, then remove the inner tie rod, measure again, and mark the excess threads that you measured earlier. Then head to your vise, clamp, or whatever you use to hold it and cut the excess section off via method of choice, then smooth the threads out, also via method of choice as well. Once again, bust out the thread locker and smear it on gently as shown here. Once again, head under the car and install and thread in the inner tie rod to the spacer. Now support the offset rack spacer with a big old wrench and give the inner tie rod a good tightening. You don't want to use the steering rack, as that would put all the pressure on the tabs and you may break them. Now double check for clearance, and if it does clear, go ahead and center that bad boy. In this case, it's going to come in at 84 millimeters or 3.3 inches, and that's going to go for both sides, meaning centered. If you're running a different car, just make sure both sides are even. Of course, due to added length, the boot no longer fits, and there is no solution for this at this point, so bin that sucker, and that's Aussie for throwing it away. And that's it, that's all. These clips still exist, but hey, go subscribe to them anyway, and if you can't install these, have a pro do it, or reach out with any questions. This has been Officer Dan, Johnny Caps, and Schmear's Good Zach with another GKTECH how-to. Peace.